Today's episode of Mark Who 42 is sponsored by Audible.com, which has more than 180,000 audiobooks and spoken word audio products, including tons of Doctor Who audios. Get a free audiobook of your choice at www.audibletrial.com/MarkWho42.
Hello, this is Ian-Hallard, aka Alan Adale, from the Doctor Who episode Robot of Sherwood, and you're listening to Mark Who 42.
Welcome to Mark Who 42. Yes, that's right, Mark Who 42, the Doctor Who online radio show / podcast, whatever you want to call it. We're Mark Who 42. I'm your host, Mark-Baumgarten, and with me, as always, are
Patricia-Helm
and Eduardo-m-Freyre. And I hope everybody, by the time you listen to this, was able to just say Happy Mother's Day to their mommies.
Happy Mother's Day to everybody, and it's my turn to be sick. I'm Christian-basel. And I'm drinking the Mexican Coca-Cola. Thanks, Patrick. Welcome to the pediatrics ward of Mark Who 42.
Yeah, today's show is an interview with Ian-Hallard. Now, a lot of you are going, who's he? Well, Ian-Hallard played Alan Adale in Robot of Sherwood for Peter-Capaldi's first season, but here's another interesting fact. He is Mark Gatiss' partner, husband, civil union.
Say significant other.
Significant other. And for those of you who are listening to our podcast, you're getting this special part now because we're going to go to...
Because we're going to go straight to Doctor Who News with our Doctor Who correspondent, Patricia-Helm. By the way, I like significant other as well.
Well, I'm glad someone...
Yeah,
it was significant other. It was really what I meant to say. Trish, we have some great Doctor Who news this week, don't we? And some other news.
Yes, we do. Actually, right after we finished recording the last show, some big news dropped.
Yeah, and I'm really pissed that we missed it.
We missed it by minutes. I swear we did.
I think Doctor Who, BBC, and Big Finish get together and go, when is Mark Who 42 coming out? We're just going to put this right after they record.
Yeah, I got to agree with Christian. I think there's somebody who listens to this show and is like, wait for it, wait for it, wait for it. Okay, they're done recording. Now, put it up, put it up. No. Wait for it.
Yes. Anyway, Big Finish announced that they have secured the rights to Torchwood.
Woohoo!
And that they're going to produce 6 new stories starring Captain Jack and the rest of the team, and they'll start coming out in September. The very first one is going to be called Torchwood: The Conspiracy, and it's going to star John Barrowman as Captain Jack.
Now, do we know where in Torchwood history these audios are going to take place?
Yeah, when you say team, which team?
I mean, because if it's before Children of Earth, we could have Ianto. If it's before season 2, the middle of, we could have Owen and Tosh.
Well, it just says it's going to focus on different members of the Torchwood team exploring the impact of what a mysterious event has on them.
Okay.
It didn't say.
Oh. Doesn't say. Well, I'm sure we'll
find
out in the weeks.
If Ianto is going to be in there when we find that out, because they haven't announced who the rest of the members of the team are going to be. If Ianto's there, then you know it's got to be before Children of Earth.
And, now that Forever's been canceled, Gorman could be Owen again. Yeah, Forever was canceled, folks. Complain to ABC right now.
Well, at least did Vern Gorman get to survive before it got canceled? I mean, did he get to survive? Because he...
I stopped watching it, but still it shouldn't have been canceled.
No, not every immortal character on television can survive.
The first story will be released in September of 2015, and then there'll be 5 more installments that'll come out every month.
Yeah. Starting
in January.
So season 1 of the Big Finish Torchwood series comes out soon.
Yes.
I'm going to be getting that. I'm going to be getting it. I can't not.
Can't go wrong with Captain Jack.
I just wish you knew which team was going to be the team. Because if it's Ianto, then hopefully Gareth will bring some CDs down with him.
And maybe maybe
the Hurricane Who.
And we could talk to Gareth again about the show.
Oh, you're making Gareth your CD mule? Oh, jeez.
Oh, I got the Lady Soliloquy, Enoch the Traveler, from him. He was giving them out. That's how I found out about Enoch. So that's how we had Lady Soliloquy.
He was giving them out, or he was selling them?
Oh, he was selling them. I mean,
yeah, exactly. Don't say giving them out. That's not the gateway drug to...
Well, that's how it starts, you know.
That's how it starts.
You get one hint, you get one chapter, and go, hey, big finish. I'm on it. Have some. Here's a hint. Go for it. Take one. Drive you.
At least they're not illegal, and he doesn't have to carry them in an uncomfortable way to get them here. So next on the news, we actually had a Doctor Who actor pass away this week, or last week actually. It was actor Nigel Terry. He played a General Cobb in The Doctor's Daughter.
Oh, okay.
But he's best known for playing King Arthur in Excalibur, the movie.
I loved Excalibur. That was a great movie. I watched that.
I have yet to see that.
Probably watched it about 10 times.
Ed keeps telling me that we have to watch it.
It's good.
Neve McIntosh, better known as Madame Vastra.
Yeah.
She has talked about having a Paternoster Gang spin-off or a movie.
Oh.
And she would love to do either. And she wants something like Crimson Horror because she likes that Sherlock Holmes type of story. And she said that she may have to corner Moffat and beg him to do it.
You know, if they can't make a Doctor Who movie, totally make the Paternoster Gang movie. And have the Doctor do a cameo in the movie. There you go.
I say when she quarters him, she gets in that makeup and then sticks his tongue out at him and then, just threatens him and goes, you will do this, Or if she's lucky, she'll get Big Finish to do it and she doesn't have to put on the makeup.
That's good. What else do we have?
All right. Well, I think we have to turn on the spoiler alarm.
No.
So, Christian, cover your ears.
No. Earplugs on.
Hey, Christian, you're lucky we didn't do what we said we were going to do last week and blast it through your phone at the Oasis panel.
I listened to these episodes, And what was this about people blasting my eardrums out? Whatever. Can't do a radio show if I can't hear. We should get a sponsor for the spoiler alarm. Somebody pays money for this.
The spoiler alarm has been brought to you by Audible.com. Go to audibletrial.com/Marku42 and get yourself a free download of Audible.com. Thank you to Audible.com for our spoiler alerts. Trish, your spoiler.
All right. Well, I got a couple, but the first one's kind of a spoiler, but it's... I just thought we should put it under the spoiler just in case. So this actually happened at MegaCon.
Oh, then where the heck were we? Go ahead.
Well, it was Alex Kingston.
Oh, yeah.
During her panel. She was talking and she hinted that River Song could be coming back.
Yes, I was there and I didn't report it. I'm a bad boy.
Wouldn't let us record it.
No, but I should have reported it the next week.
Reported it.
I should have reported it. Not reported it, reported. They sound the same.
I was the one that asked her a question. I actually asked her, and I think somebody actually does have this on camera. I asked Karen, I said, listen, Karen has been in the show twice as two different people. And I asked Alex, I said, would you come back, if it wasn't River Song, would you come back on the show as somebody else? And she goes, spoilers. And I'm like, great, that's the answer. Always the answer, huh? Everything.
Every answer is a spoiler.
It's Kingston. Would you like some eggs or bacon? Spoilers.
Spoilers.
She said that the sonic screwdriver that she had in Silence in the Library, which was given to her by the Doctor, is not a sonic screwdriver that we've seen yet.
Right, because someone told me that in one of those short little films that were on the DVD and Blu-rays, that he does give her the sonic screwdriver. That is not true. Whoever told me that, you were wrong.
Never seen that, so yeah. And she says she has not been told that she's done on the show. No one said, okay, you're done.
Well, it doesn't give the full answer because Silence in the Library, she goes, I didn't pluck it from your cold, dead hands, if that's what you're concerned about. So.
Yes. Did you see the new picture of those aliens? The ones that are possibly named the Cyclones?
Mm-hmm.
They had more of like a front shot of them. And they kind of look like armored Slovene to me. They kind of got the hands and the whole shape of the body and everything. I just wonder what's under the armor.
I don't know what's under the armor.
Actually, they don't look like Slovene to me. It looks like a prototype version of what the Jadoon wear.
Oh, okay.
I'm getting that vibe.
All right.
Big spoilerish type thing that came out this week was something that makes you want to just pull your hair out and scream Moffat over and over and over.
I think I know it.
Revealed that Osgood is coming back.
Zygon Osgood.
Well, no, it
You
can't be
don't know.
Zygon Osgood.
Why can't it be Zygon Osgood?
Because Zygon has to have whoever they're copying alive.
Well,
in order
no,
for them
that
to copy
helps the pattern. They said in Terror of the Zygons that they keep the pattern to help, but it doesn't say that it's 100% necessary.
Oh, I thought it was.
No,
but
it
okay.
didn't say 100% necessary.
I will trust you because I am not a classic person. So.
Yeah, and plus, the way that they said it in Day of the Doctor seemed to imply that the original needs to be alive in order for it to work.
Oh, so they did say, okay, all right. I'm just going by the classic, you're going by new. Okay, so I guess new wins.
Now, here's the thing. What if they just surprised us and brought her back and not said a word? I think that would have been a better
I think so, too.
I think that would have been a better result.
People were saying that on the internet. It's like, why did they just not let it be a surprise?
Right. And like Alex coming in going like spoilers and I might be coming back or somebody else might be coming back. Just like, why don't you just do it, be very quiet? Because Doctor Who used to be this big thing, like when Karen Gillan auditioned, she was auditioning for something called Panic Moon, which was an anagram for companion. They were keeping it that quiet. So why not keep everything quiet?
Well,
and make it a really good story.
Panic Moon is an anagram of companion?
Yeah.
Wow.
Do you remember that time when she was auditioning?
That's cool. Mark 42 didn't know that.
As far as why didn't they keep quiet that Osgood is coming back, somebody probably just thought, okay, given the backlash of the fact that we were killing Osgood, let's show everybody, hey, guess what? No, she's coming back. I'm very curious to see what this return entails. I mean, I don't know. Any
time travel.
Trish, any hints?
Well, this is what Moffat said. He said, Osgood is back, fresh from her recent murder at the end of last series. I recently confirmed that Osgood was definitely dead and not returning, but in a show about time travel, anything can happen.
Exactly.
The brilliant Ingrid Oliver is back in action. This time, though, can the Doctor trust his #1 fan? Now...
Sounds like a Zygon to me.
This is going to be a 2-part story.
Another 2-part story.
Yes,
they're all 2-part stories.
It's written by Peter Harness, who wrote Kill the Moon. So let's hope he did.
It'll be scientifically plausible. Yeah.
The episode's called Kill the Osgood.
Did you guys see all the different pictures and videos and stuff announcing her return?
Yeah.
There's one where she's sitting like in the makeup chair on set, and if you look in her reflection of the mirror, you can see that she's wearing the 7th Doctor's jumper. And then also there's a picture of Zygon taped to the wall, and there's a Zygon hand on the counter.
Someone may be right about Zygon Osgood.
They did say they were facing the Zygons in this, that the Zygons were back. But not necessarily that she was a Zygon. But there were also some other pictures from actual filming. And then you can see Osgood's wearing like a shirt with the collar, and the collar has the question marks on the collar. Like for the 5th and 6th Doctor. Yeah. But then she's wearing another jumper over the shirt that looks very much like what the brig wore. So it's just like, there's just so much going on there. I've seen theories of, because Moffat mentioned time travel, and of course it is time travel, but maybe this is before Missy killed her.
Maybe.
But then there's also the one saying, how there was that pile of ash on the ground of where she supposedly disintegrated Osgood. But the same thing happened with Amy when she was teleported. There was a pile of ash on the ground. So they're saying maybe she was teleported, and actually maybe she is Missy's companion.
She's Missy's companion.
So you think maybe in the same case like Missy, she was supposed to have been zapped by the Cyber Brigadier.
Yeah.
That she actually teleported. She may have done the same thing to Osgood, but left ash on the ground.
Yeah, they're even saying that maybe her little handheld thing isn't killing people, that she's actually transporting people with it.
Didn't we last week say that we thought Maisie was going to be the companion? Now we're saying...
Who knows?
Who knows?
And then there's also a theory going around that Osgood might be the Doctor's companion and Clara might become Missy's companion.
Yay! I bet they have more chemistry together.
There were more pictures of Clara, and she is dressed in this black and white type suit, almost looks like UNIT, and there was even a theory going around that Clara is working for UNIT, kind of like what Martha did, and maybe somehow she's going to become Missy's companion, and I don't know, there's so many things going back and forth out there.
And thus Moffat wins. He doesn't have to put anything out. He just puts out a few pictures, and everybody writes the theories for him, and goes, my job is done here.
Yeah, no,
Series 9 looks like it's going to be killer.
I'm so looking forward to it. I just hope to not be disappointed.
Oh, me too.
I gotta admit, though, having Osgood back, I'm kind of two minds. Because on the one hand, it's great to have her back. You know, I don't think she should have been killed in the first place. But on the other hand, it kind of sets up a dangerous precedent. Well, first I would have to see, how is she back? Is she back, or is it, the Zygon, or is it time? Like, we got to see what the return entails, because if it is a return, it kind of makes it dangerous, because then how are you supposed to trust an emotional moment like losing a companion or supporting character again without just going, oh, well, they got rid of this person. Oh, but don't worry, I'm sure that, Moffat can come up with something to, it kind of brings it into sort of this comic book territory where you then start to not believe whenever they take somebody out. You're kind of waiting for the other shoe to drop and, oh no, wait, they survived because of blank.
It could be an interesting twist, though. I mean, if she is back, and let's say that this is a previous Osgood and that it's the real Osgood, what does the Doctor do, and how does he feel knowing that she's going to be killed later on? Does he tell her something? Does he hint her anything, or did you just act natural and just move on and just go with what's going on at the moment and not worry about what's going to happen in the future? So it's an interesting twist.
Would be interesting if they go with that, especially if this two-parter involves Missy in some way. I mean, maybe she'll mess with the Doctor and be like, "Ooh, why don't you tell her?"
That would be awesome. That would be. It's like, well, I really didn't kill her. Here she is. Type deal, and that might be the bargaining chip that she needs to get the Doctor's influence. I didn't really kill her. I just want to make you feel bad, the same way that she made him feel bad when he didn't find Gallifrey and gave him the coordinates.
Yeah, or even like I said,
the Master does.
Well, like you said, if it's Osgood pre-death, Missy could just mess with the Doctor and just be like, "Ooh, why don't you tell her? Tell her about how I disintegrate her in the future. Leave a neat little pile of ashes you could pick up with a dustbin."
If this is a story that's going that way, you can get the feels going already before the episode even hits, how that's going to mess with them.
Maybe Missy kind of walking past Osgood and going, "Isn't life just such a funny thing? It can be gone in a flash."
Right, we got one more story.
One more story until we're done recording, and then another story will come out. That's how it works, right?
That's how it works on this show.
They have their finger on the button.
They're getting ready to release a new news article that we're going to miss. Go for it.
All right, so we are Mark Who 42, and so we're expanding our universe.
Oh, yeah. We're beyond the Hoodverse.
Yes. So remember the other week we talked about that new DC show that Arthur Darvill's going to be a part of? Where he plays the time traveler Rick Hunter.
And Brendan Roosh is going to be the Atom. Yeah,
hey,
cool.
I can talk about that.
Yeah.
So they announced that the show is going to be called Legends of Tomorrow. And they're basically taking people from Arrow and from The Flash. Like you said, there's going to be the Atom, Brandon Routh. And there's going to be a character played by Katie Lotz, who may or may not be Black Canary. I guess she died on Arrow. I haven't watched Arrow, so I need to catch up on that.
Yes, you do.
And people that are jumping ship from The Flash are Firestorm and the rogue villains Captain Cold and Heatwave.
Oh, yeah.
And they said they have to assume that those last two are going to have a change of heart and be coerced into signing up with the team of heroes.
Yeah.
In order for this to work. And,
it's interesting about those two characters because the actors who play Captain Cold and Heatwave are the same actors who were the brothers in Prison Break.
Oh.
I just love the fact that both, when they introduced Heatwave, I was like, that's his brother from Prison Break. Wow.
Yeah, that was on. It seemed from everything that I heard leading up to the introduction of Captain Cold and Heatwave, that was like on purpose. They wanted to do that.
Together.
Oh no, definitely. They were. Yeah.
Now joining all of these people are going to be Hawkeye and Hawk Girl. Sorry,
Hawkeye is Marvel. It's the guy who's
Mara.
Well, I better not give it away if you haven't seen Agent of Ultron yet.
Yeah, that's Alan Alda from MASH.
That's right.
And there's going to be a mystery character named Jay Jackson.
Or you can call me Jay, or you can call me JJ. Okay,
don't do that.
They said that they don't know who he is because the name doesn't have any connection to anybody in the DC heroes. But this is what the CW's tagline for the show is. When heroes alone are not enough, the world needs legends. Having seen the future, one he will desperately try to prevent from happening, time-traveling rogue Rip Hunter is tasked with assembling a disparate group of both heroes and villains to confront an unstoppable threat, one in which not only is the planet at stake, but all of time itself. Can this ragtag team defeat an immortal threat unlike anything they have ever known?
And this Rip Hunter guy guy. He sounds like he's going to be a great guy, doesn't he?
Yeah, it sounds like almost like.
Well, who's playing Rip
star.
Hunter? Who's that guy playing?
We've already said it, Mark.
I'm sorry.
Arthur Darvill. But it kind of sounds like he's going to be the star.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sounds like he's the focus.
Now, there's also the rumors that there may be a teaser for this that's going to air during the finale of The Flash on May 19th.
Oh.
And that it may be possible that one or more of these new Legends stars could turn up in the final episode.
Well, I think Hawkgirl's confirmed. I think she put it on Twitter that she's going to be in the finale, and then she even hinted that some other characters would be there. Like she said, me and my cast mates, plural.
Maybe this is why Arthur had to cancel from MegaCon. Maybe he had to film that sequence.
I will say this, Mark, since you're an old school comics fan like me, let's see. All of Time and Space Threatened, Immortal Threat. Are you thinking what I'm thinking, Pinky?
I am pondering what you're pondering.
You are pondering what I'm pondering?
Yeah.
Shall we say it together?
No.
Monitor.
No. Don't. Oh.
It's the
spoilers. I didn't hit the spoiler alert.
This is just a theory.
But it is a good theory. Anti-monitor will be, especially because in the Flash storyline with the Reverse Flash, they saw the newspaper from the future about the crisis.
It did say crisis, and more importantly, it mentions red skies.
Yeah. So it could be the anti-monitor.
Anybody who's a DC fan, once they start mentioning the word red skies, that's your turn to go, oh no.
By the way, because the Atom is going to this new series, and Brennan Ruth is going to be in it, and so Ray Palmer is there, does that mean Felicity Smoke is leaving Arrow and going with him because aren't they a couple?
Well, maybe not. And it depends on how the series is done, because who's to say that Adam is going to be going completely away from Arrow? Given that this is time and space, the setting could be such that it doesn't require any sort of really moving around, moving out. I mean, let's see what happens.
I don't want to lose Felicity Smoke from Arrow because she's one of my favorite characters on that show.
I've also liked the Arrow characters appearing in Flash. Yeah. That's been kind of cool.
Yeah, it has been.
That's all the news for today, but we do have some birthdays coming up.
Birthday!
All right, so on May 13th, we have Zoe Wanamaker, Cassandra. And then on the 14th, we have Indira Varma. She played Susie in Torchwood in the first couple episodes, and she also plays Ilaria Sand in Game of Thrones.
Oh, God.
I have a feeling she's going to be pretty, we're going to see a lot of her this season. I think she's going to be after blood.
I think her character's a little mad over a couple of things that happened. And hey, did anybody catch last week's episode?
Oh, yeah.
Her with her daughters, the Sand Snakes? Yay.
Yeah.
Don't get on Ilaria Sand's bad side.
Now, May 16th, we have Thomas Brody Sangster. He played Tim Latimer in Human Nature and Family of Blood.
Oh, okay.
He was the kid from Love Actually, as he's been known. But he's done some Big Finish audio for Doctor Who, too. He was Kyle in The Mind's Eye, and he played a miner in The Bride of Peladon. And that's minor, not minor.
I know. Because there are a lot of miners on Peladon. They
working
mine.
on the coal mine.
Exactly. Right. Back on the chain gang.
And then finally on May 19th, we have Lily Cole. She was the siren in The Curse of the Black Spot.
And hey, remember Thomas Brody Sangster was on Game of Thrones until the end of last season.
Yes.
One of the first major giant deviations from the books. It's like, wait a minute, this hasn't happened.
And that's all the birthdays that we have, as far as I know.
So those are our birthdays and news. You're listening to the podcast version of our show this week. This is our bonus feature of news because Krypton Radio did not get the news. Oh, poor guys. But they got, and you're about to get, the interview with Ian-Hallard, which you will love. It is a great interview, and it'll be on right after this.
By the power of Grayskull, I command the drawbridge. Open!
Yes, that's right. We have traveled to Eternia to enter Castle Grayskull. Join Optimus Solo and TFJ Mike as they find themselves telling tales of Eternia. We cover all things He-Man in this 45-episode-long podcast. You can find us on iTunes and www.geekassradio.com. By the power of Grayskull, we all have the power Tooncast is dedicated to the cartoons we grew up with. 100 episodes and more make up one of the GCRN's most popular podcasts. Join hosts TFG and Mike, Optimus Solo, Terror the Rising Star, and tons of guest hosts. We also have voice actor and writer interviews. Tune in to Tooncast as we look back on the cartoons that defined us as geeks. You can find Tooncast on iTunes and the web at www.geekcastradio.com. Tune in.
This is Ian McNeice, and you're listening to Mark Who 42.
You're listening to Mark Who 42 on Krypton Radio. I'm your host, Mark Baumgarten, and of course we've got Christian-basel, we've got Eduardo-m-freyre, and our special guest, Ian-hallard. Hi, Ian. How you doing?
Hello, I'm very good, thank you. How are you?
I'm doing very well.
And actually, Mark, we're all doing fine, but we're also very glad to hear you're doing fine.
That's right.
When we all saw Robots of Sherwood and the doctor is scanning Alinadale and says 6 months, we got worried.
We were worried.
It's good that you're here. You sound fine. See, I think we can now announce to the audience, Alinadale lived.
Yeah,
something happened. Something happened. He's okay.
Yeah, maybe being scanned, maybe that made the difference.
There you go. See, there you go. See, that makes for a great kind of PSA. Always get yourself scanned to make sure you're in good health. You never know what can come up.
Ian, for those of our listeners who don't know who you are, can you tell us a little about yourself?
Yeah, sure. Well, I was born in Birmingham, which is the UK's second city. So it's right in the middle it's now the West Midlands, used to be Warwickshire, but it's more or less slap bang in the middle of England. So I grew up there, went to university after that in Sheffield, which is in the north of England, somewhere called Yorkshire. Spent 3 years there, and after that I came down to drama school and studied at drama school in London, which in 1996, I think, 96, 97 I came down. And I've lived here ever since. So I've been working, I studied mainly in musical theatre, so the first few jobs that I started off doing were musicals, and then I've been lucky enough to work in radio, TV, straight theatre and musicals ever since. So yeah, that's kind of my potted history and my background.
And since you were born in 1974, you were born in the middle of Doctor Who. I mean, when the Doctor Who was on. When you were growing up, were you watching Doctor Who? Were you a Doctor Who fan as a child?
Yeah, well, funny enough, I was. I remember I started watching it right at the end of the Tom Baker years, which I distantly remember. And then Peter Davison was my Doctor. So I was so I guess I would have... When did Peter start? Was it 1981? 81, okay, yeah. So I'd have been 6, 7.
Yeah.
So yeah, watched Peter religiously through all that, and actually went to the Longleat. Was that 20th?
Oh wow, you were at Longleat?
Yeah, I went.
Oh wow.
So I'd have been. Was that 1984?
1983.
83. Okay.
It was the anniversary year. It was
right. Okay. So I'd have been 8, and went there with my mum and dad because I was obviously quite a big fan. And mum and dad took me and my brother, and we've still got Polaroids of us on the TARDIS set and posing with Cybermen and Daleks and stuff. So we went along to that. I don't have very many memories of that. I remember it being cold and muddy and a general sense of there being far more people than they anticipated, and kind of seeing the tops of people's heads and stuff. So I was there for that.
What started your love of theatre? What brought you into that?
Well, I'd always gone to like drama clubs on Saturdays when I was a kid. I mean, nowadays I look at all the opportunities that youngsters have, and I'm very envious because there seems to be there's an organisation over in Britain called Stagecoach, and there are lots of opportunities at weekends for kids who are interested in drama. And there wasn't actually that much when I was young. I went to a couple of different drama clubs on Saturdays, on Saturday mornings, and so I did plays then, and just always loved it. I mean, I always remember loving school plays, and I used to get sort of big parts or lead roles in those. And then as I got older, I carried on doing drama at school, but because I was quite good academically, I never actually thought that I would go into it professionally. I always thought, well, it would be a hobby that I would keep up, and I'd probably do it on an amateur basis, and I don't know, go and be a journalist or a lawyer or something and earn some proper money. Hence going to university, and then I spent most of my time at uni doing stuff with the drama club. So I directed stuff there. I was in various productions as well, and was far more interested in that than actually studying. And got to the end of it, and it was my dad, in a complete reversal of the way these things are supposed to happen with your parents, who said, "Look, I think if you want to give it a go, you should go for it."
Wow.
Yeah,
Dad.
And don't end up at any point in your life regretting what you might have done and what you could have done. So that was it. With their blessing, I went off to drama school, and the rest is history.
I think it's funny you should say that, because when I was in high school, my goal was to become a teacher, some kind of math or an English teacher at some point. And then the first play that I saw on stage was Bye Bye Birdie that the high school put on. And I said, I'm going to try this out. And I found out that you need actual talent to be on stage.
Not always. Not always.
Yeah. Or to be in a movie. Well, if Shaquille O'Neal can make a movie, then I got to be able to be.
But Christian, you're forgetting Shaquille O'Neal did a bad movie. See, you kind of want to do.
He made some money out of it, though.
But I did have a love for theater while I was in high school and some of college. But sometimes I go back and go, I need to tell that kid, stay with the math thing. You'll go places better.
Well, I'm kind of the opposite. I've always had a love of theater and acting, and and what can I say? I wouldn't change it for the world. Would not go back to that little kid and say, "Hey, you may want to be a lawyer like your dad." Nope. I'd tell him soldier on.
Yeah.
So, in the theater, you appeared in Seven Brides for Seven Brothers, one of my favorite musicals. But you were also in Joseph and His Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
you played Judah.
Or we call it the Sixth Doctor here.
The Sixth Doctor, yeah.
What's the connection there? I don't get it. Sixth Doctor.
The Sixth Doctor's coat.
Colin Baker's outfit.
Oh, I see. Of course. Sorry.
That's how we just talk. That's how we think about it on the show.
Yeah. I can't speak for them, but I always call the Sixth Doctor's coat the Crayola explosion.
Right.
That's the Rainbow Factory.
You said when you were a kid, Peter Davison was your doctor. Mm-hmm. What did you think when Colin came on? I mean, how did it affect you?
Well, I stopped watching.
You stopped watching.
Ow!
Yeah.
Oh! Ow! 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 Ow!
No, that was it. That was the end of my time watching Doctor Who. So it spanned end of Tom and then Peter, and I'm afraid.
And you dropped Colin.
I'm afraid so. Yeah.
Going off of that though, what made you drop it? Was it just the fact that Peter was gone, or was there something about Colin's Sixth Doctor?
Well, I guess. Well, because I mean, obviously, I'd watched Tom Baker turn into Peter, and that was perfectly happy with that, and I knew about obviously because I'd watched the Five Doctors, and I knew about the whole fact that Doctors regenerated and that actors changed and everything. I just didn't like him. I'm afraid. And funny enough, we went and watched the Caves of Androzani in the anniversary. Was that last year? It was 2 years ago now. I was like, God, it goes so fast. And which was the first time I think I'd watched it since I was a kid, and it kind of got to the end of that. And that's all right. It's all right. Mark's just wandering through with a pot of tea. Go on, you can go. Go on.
Hello, Mr. Gatiss. Hello, Mark.
They're saying hello. Hello.
Hi. We had Mark Gatiss on our show. Cool.
And he's drinking tea of all things.
He didn't hear you say that. He'll kill you though if you don't say Gatiss.
He did. Mark Gatiss. You're right. Let me say it correctly.
Yeah, no, he was lingering because he wanted to hear what I was going to say about the Caves of Androzani. So now I'm
listening on the whole show.
Actually, he's writing Doctor Who upstairs at the moment. So,
yeah. Is there any way? Okay, can you pop upstairs? I just want to read
you could grab something off the word processor.
The episode is about Ian.
It's more than my life and my marriage is worth, I'm afraid. Oh. Yeah, end of Caves of Androzani. I was sitting watching it, the regeneration, the lines that they gave Colin at the end of the all that change and not a moment too soon. It seemed, even now, it seemed like such a massive slapping in the face to anyone who liked Pete. You're just going to go. I remember it was obviously a bold choice and maybe worked for some people, but I know for this particular view, I just went, I don't like you. I'm not going to watch you anymore. I'm afraid, if you're the Doctor. So that was it. I'm afraid that was it.
It just seems to happen with every generation cycle. I mean, when Matt left, and now you get the repercussions of Peter-Capaldi and some of the fangirls running off going, oh, he's too old and stuff like that. But I think it brought heart back into the Doctor of where the real core values of the show were back in the classic series. However, have you come back to New Who when it started back up, or did it take some time for you to start all over?
Well, no, I watched it because, apart from anything else, obviously Mark was involved with it right from the start, right from when it was announced that Russell was bringing it back and when Mark got the call that he was writing for it. And because I read all of Mark's scripts and give him my opinions, and depending on the setup, and I mean, we've worked together and written stuff together, and I've edited stuff that he's written in the past as well. I've always given him my thoughts on all the stuff he's written. So I inevitably, of course, I watched it, and when it came back, and thoroughly enjoyed it. So I had a big hiatus, but I was back in the fold eventually.
Did you go back to the stuff that you missed, that you didn't watch? Like, have you watched some of Colin's stuff? Did you watch any of Sylvester's?
No, I can't say I have. I'm afraid. I saw, actually, no, because Mark and his flatmate had, when Mark and I met, they were his then flatmate, who he was living with at the time. The two of them had embarked on this project to watch every single episode of Doctor Who from start to finish. And when Mark and I met, I think they were just partway through Patrick Troughton. So I joined them and watched some of them. So I watched a few Patrick Troughtons, and I think I watched all of the John Pertwee years with them whilst he was living there. And then of course,
did you think of the John Pertwee stuff?
I enjoyed it. No, I liked it very much. Enjoyed it. And they still haven't finished. I mean, that was 16 years ago when Mark and I met. So. And of course, now he doesn't live with his flatmate anymore. The rate of watching those episodes has slowed down considerably over the years. Although they are into the new series now, I think they're just somewhere around David Tennant. So they have watched all of them, and obviously those missing years, the Collins and Sylvester stuff will have come in during that. But because I was probably away on tour or something, or just wasn't available to kind of join them for some of those episodes. So I've not seen those. Ironically, I may well have been doing Joseph at the time. I did that for nearly a year, so I was off on tour with that.
Do you watch the new show?
Again, I've watched most of it. For my sins, the only one I've seen of Peter's was Last Christmas Special and Robot of Sherwood, because again I was in the theatre all last year, so all my Saturday nights I was on stage, so I didn't watch it going out live. When Mark watched it, I just haven't. It's still sitting. The DVDs are still sitting there for me to watch, which I will do, but I haven't caught up with it yet. So it's tricky when you haven't got your evenings.
Now, Ian, can I ask a personal question?
You can ask.
Absolutely. Doesn't mean he is going to answer.
Ask.
How did you and Mark meet, and how did you start developing a relationship?
Well, I think Mark's already talked about it. Actually, we met online. The internet had barely been invented, and so we met online, then met up in person and got on, and that's kind of it.
The internet. See, folks, the internet is a very important place. You can meet people, you can listen to our show. Yeah. It's a very important place.
The guy's talking about meeting, about meeting the love of his life online, and you're doing a plug. What?
I wanted to take
a drink. Mark.
We have a drinking game. I wanted to take a drink. I was giving a reason for it.
What time is it over there?
It's 12:24 in Florida. It's 9:24 in the morning in Reno, where Ed is.
I was going to say, I was just wondering what time you were starting drinking. If you were drinking.
I don't know about these two, but it
helps me get through the show. I'll tell you that.
It's Florida. So it's 5 o'clock somewhere. So
it's 5 o'clock somewhere.
Okay, that's fair enough. No, I think it just goes to prove that the internet is morally neutral, and it can be used for good. It can be used to find the love of your life, and it can be used for evil.
Yes, it can.
Hey, Ian, that's how I found the love of my life. We met up online. We started talking on Skype, and rest is history.
Congratulations.
So you met Mark back in 1998?
99.
99. So it was right after you graduated school.
Yeah, I'd been out just under a year, I think.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I think I'd left about 98, yeah.
And I guess the marriage was in 2008.
That's right, yeah, although it was... we haven't actually, because I don't know how much you know about what the current situation with marriages and civil partnerships is over here. We're actually...
They're just starting to allow, marriages in America, and I wasn't sure how it worked in England.
Yeah, well, we actually, the last Labour government brought in civil partnerships, which were effectively gay marriage under any other name, but to appease certain religious groups in Parliament, they didn't use the word marriage and used civil partnerships. So we actually had and that was in 2005. So we had our civil partnership in 2008, but we called it a wedding, and we always say that we're married. And as of, was it last year? The government actually brought in marriage, so you can actually now get married as a gay couple as well. And for a small administrative fee, you can put in an upgrade, and you can have your civil partnership converted to a marriage, which some people have done.
Are you going to have yours upgraded? Like it sounds like Cyberman. Cyberman upgrade.
Go.
What is
Did you
that?
just relate the relationship to cyber?
Come on.
Whoa, Mark.
The word they used, upgrade. That just doesn't sound right.
Well, to be fair, that is the word that I've used.
Okay. I thought that was the word. It was in law.
You can convert it. It's conversion rather than upgrade.
Well, converting is Cyberman too.
Although I suppose it's a conversion, at least it doesn't imply that one is better than the other.
Yes, because upgrade.
Because there are some people who actually, who for strong ethical, moral, political, religious reasons actually don't want to have their relationship called a marriage or a wedding because they see that as buying into a sort of old-fashioned patriarchal society or whatever, and so they adamantly want it to be a civil partnership. Equally there are some people who are campaigning for civil partnerships for heterosexual people because they don't see why it should only be the gays who get to have civil partnerships. But there we go.
So now, if you want a divorce, it's no longer a divorce. The Cyberman walks in and goes, delete, delete, delete.
You can have your civil partnership deleted.
Deleted.
There you go.
Or exterminated, who knows?
Actually, I think that would be very interesting if there was a marriage and took place in front of a Dalek. That would be...
I bet it'll have happened.
I'm sure we're getting to that point.
Do you take him to be your lawfully wedded husband? You will now exchange the rings? Exchange the rings?
All right, Ed, that's enough. Okay. So, Ian, besides acting, you also write.
Mm-hmm.
You co-wrote with Mark. You co-wrote The Big Four.
Mm-hmm.
You've written for... I guess you've written for Poirot. What is the draw to writing when you're an actor?
Well, I haven't actually done that much writing. I've had a few offers over the years. I've always been more interested in acting, and the writing stuff I kind of fell into really. I've always said actually I'm more of an editor than a writer, having done it sort of unofficially with friends just asking me, saying, "Oh, can you just have a look and give, at this script and see what your ideas and thoughts are?" And obviously, Mark, when I first met him, was working with the League of Gentlemen, So he had a collaborative team in process, and most of his stuff was done with his writing partner, Jeremy. So when the League kind of stopped working together so much, or indeed sort of stopped altogether in the early 2000s, and Mark was writing stuff on his own, he kind of, I think he sort of appreciated having that sort of outside eye and just having someone to bounce ideas off. And certainly with the Poirot episodes, which we collaborated on 3, that was very much a joint effort of us kind of working through plots and deciding how, because they were all adaptations, so we had sort of source material, which in some cases... because it was right at the end of the series, they'd left the most difficult or badly written books by actors still there. So certainly by the time we got to the Big Four, there was a lot of work to be done on them. So it was a lot of discussion and talking about that. So I've always said I'm an editor rather than a writer necessarily. But then certainly when it got to the Big Four, the last one of the Poirot adaptations we did, simply because it was genuinely a sort of 50-50 split. I'd sort of do a draft, then Mark would do his version of it, and then I'd do my version. We'd go back and forth between the two, so the producers only felt it was fair that we had a joint co-writing credit on it, whereas before I'd been credited as script associate because there was already an official script editor on it.
I love the Poirot mysteries.
Mm-hmm.
how's the actor David Suchet? What's he like in real life?
He's extraordinary. He's one of the most charming people that you could ever met. The first time I met him, because I mean, I'm not particularly tall, I'm like 5'9", but David obviously is a few inches shorter than me. So you sort of shake your hand and he sort of turns his full sort of force of his personality on you, and his charm is almost overwhelming. So, and he's so... obviously, he's been playing Poirot for 20, 25 years. Obviously, he's not doing it anymore, but up until very recently. So he's so steeped in the character, and as he sort of relates himself and as he explains to you at the read-through, when he has the little moustache on, then he is Poirot, and he talks in the voice and uses the accent. So it's extraordinary, and he's a sort of an icon of detective fiction. So it was really thrilling to write for him, and then also to work alongside him and act with him as well. So no, it was great. It was brilliant.
Now, I'm sure our fans want to know how you came across the role of Alan Adale and what it was like working with Peter Capaldi. And I'm also going to throw in another name because we just interviewed him recently, Rusty Goff.
Okay. They don't really want to know about that, do they?
That's one of the reasons we've got you here.
Oh, I'm sorry. I've completely misunderstood. Then you've got me under false pretenses, quite frankly.
Wait a minute. How did we get you onto this?
Oh, Doctor Who. Okay.
Yeah, Doctor Who.
Sorry. Okay, right. I'm with you now. Well, Andy Pryor, who's the casting director on the show, I've known for a little while, and he'd cast me in An Adventure in Space and Time, which he'd suggested that I come in for, which was the previous year. So then when the part of Alan Adale came up, because Andy knows I sing and I've done sort of musical theatre and stuff, and obviously there was going to be part of it that was singing, that they suggested me and got me in for that as well. So obviously lovely to play such a kind of, again, an iconic part of English folklore. The whole Robin Hood story is a big part of it. It's something that everyone growing up knows and is familiar with and loves, really. And the chance of being in a sun-dappled glade, which we were amazed that it said it was sunny in the script, and then almost unheard of for Cardiff, especially. It was about this time of year as well. It was April, so we were thinking, yes, sun. And then it was sunny and gorgeous for the entire length of the shoot, so we were very, very lucky indeed.
Now, what was it like working with Peter?
Brilliant. He's such a sweet, lovely man. He really is. He's got no ego or side to him at all, and I think it must be a really... obviously, he's been doing it for over a year now, but when I started working on the show, it's always weird going into an existing show to do a sort of guest role, because you're very aware of the fact that obviously the crew are there the entire time and you're coming in. And actually, if you do like a long-running series or a soap and you go in, I've done a few there where you go in and do a guest part for a few episodes or a few days, you're aware of the fact that it makes a big difference to how the regulars treat you, because obviously for you, you're kind of, it's like starting a new job. So I mean, you know roughly what you're doing, but obviously
and you're coming in as a temp.
Unfamiliar. Yeah, exactly. It is a bit like that. And so it's really interesting to see how the regulars or the leads on the series then treat you. And I'm not saying that anyone has ever treated me badly, but obviously there are different levels of effort that people can make to welcoming a new person to the cast or to the company, because they're potentially, some of them are doing it every single day. It's someone new. And it all comes from the top. It comes from the lead and from Peter, who's the leading man. And it occurred to me when I was there, when I was sitting in the makeup truck the one day, and he came along and he was saying hello, introducing himself, and really being incredibly friendly and welcoming. I thought it must nevertheless be slightly weird, because obviously I don't know whereabouts in the run of episodes Robot of Sherwood was filmed, but I think he'd only started playing the part in like January, and we filmed it in the April. So he was simultaneously the head boy, but also the new boy, because every other person, some of whom had been there from the very beginning with Christopher Eccleston, has done this job longer than him. So even Jenna obviously had done it for a whole year long. So I thought that's a really tricky thing to do, because you kind of know that that's your responsibility to be that sort of head boy and sort of welcome people, but also you don't want it to suddenly feel like, oh, well, who does he think he is, when we've all been doing this for 15 years? But he handled it brilliantly, because he's an incredibly kind, charming man, and he was lovely. And I think possibly maybe because as his career has progressed, he's played character parts and supporting roles less than he's played leading men. So maybe that's a new experience for him. Maybe it's something, I don't know. Never asked him how much he enjoys that or not. But unlike someone maybe like David Tennant or Chris Eccleston, maybe who are more typical leading men, and who kind of their careers have sort of, that has been their careers, so they're maybe more used to it. I don't know. But he's lovely. He's brilliant. He's always so generous. I volunteer for London Lesbian and Gay Switchboard Switchboard, which is a charity here in London, a helpline, and Mark's done a couple of fundraisers for us, and we did one last autumn, and it was the 40th anniversary of the charity, so we wanted to make quite a sort of a splash and a special one, and we asked various people, and some people were available and some people weren't, and we were just kind of trying to work it all out. And then Mark, comparatively late in the day, because he just thought, oh well, he gets asked to do so much, asked Peter if he'd be one of the guests, and Peter said yes straight away and was brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. So I have nothing but respect and admiration for him. He's a lovely man and a brilliant actor as well, which is good. Helps.
Yeah. Before we continue, just can you tell Mark bless you for us?
Yeah. I was gonna say if you could say bless you, you know,
for sneezing.
Yeah. We heard him sneezing.
Oh really? Oh, I missed that. Oh, there we go. I will. I was too busy.
It's on audio forever.
Yeah.
Actually, well, because I've got my headphones on, so I'm probably it's blocking out the sound.
Those are good headphones.
I will tell him. I will pass it on.
We'll have more with Ian-Hallard right after this here on Krypton Radio. Attention all Whovians! While you're waiting for the new episode of Doctor Who, start your own adventures with a book from Mark Who 42 Books. They carry unique and rare books at affordable prices. Visit amazon.com/shops/markwho42. That's amazon.com/shops/markwho42. Mark Who 42 Books. Set your imagination free into the Whoniverse.
Say, Jarvis, is it that time?
The house party protocol, sir?
Correct.
The Pull Bag is GCRN's comic book review and discussion-based podcast. Join me, your host, TFG and Mike, and the rest of the GCRN crew as we make our way through the comics we are reading. Inside the Pull Bag, you'll also find back-issue classics and origins episodes of how we got into comic reading. You can find the Pull Bag every Wednesday on iTunes and on www.geekcastradio.com. Make your great escape into comics and jump into the Pull Bag today.
Jarvis. Hey.
All wrapped up here, sir. Will there be anything else?
This is Ingrid Oliver, a.k.a. Osgood, and you're listening to Mark Who 42.
This is Mark Who 42, and we're back on Krypton Radio with special guest Ian-Hallard, who played Alan Adale in Robot of Sherwood.
You mentioned working on An Adventure in Space and Time, the Doctor Who docudrama. You got to play Richard Martin, the gentleman who directed the first appearance of the Daleks. What was it like playing like a real person and somebody who, well, is such a major part of Doctor Who mythos?
Well, the strangest thing about that was I don't think that was the part I actually went in and read for when I went in for it. I think it was one of the other directors or whatever, and it was Andy who then suggested that I played Richard instead. But the biggest coincidence is the fact that Richard Martin was the first TV director I ever worked with when I was at drama school.
Oh, wow.
I'd not only met him, I'd worked with him, and he'd been the first person to direct me on our TV project, because obviously most of the course you're doing, it's for theatre, but then there's a term where you actually film your own sort of, it was a 15-20 minute film, and it was actually Rich, I think it was his own house that we used as his location. So we went out, we all drove to this, and there was an orchard nearby. It was shot in the summer. It was beautiful. So met Richard and his wife and everything. So it was very strange all these years later, and Richard was going to come down. I don't think he was available for the read-through, but because Mark had asked various people who had been in the show at the time to be in the big party scene for Verity Lambert's Leaving Do, and obviously that Jean Marsh and Annika Wills and various other alumni from the era had come down and did that, and Mark had basically asked everyone who he could think of who was still with us, and Richard was going to do it, I think, and then he was ill and couldn't make it, so I didn't actually see him, but he did ring to have a bit of a chat, because he was one of the people that Mark had interviewed long before writing it, so obviously he had no idea I was going to play him then. He did ring the house to speak to Mark about something after I'd been cast, and so we had a quick chat, and he'd remember, and obviously because it had been 16, 17 years beforehand that we'd done the filming, but he remembered the shoot and everything. So it was funny. So I said to him, well, I'll try not to make it too much of a caricature. But the thing is, because he's actually, I mean, he's a lovely man, but he's very flamboyant and quite camp. I mean, he's obviously happily married heterosexual man. But I think, I don't know if I said this to him, I probably wasn't brave enough to actually say it to him, but I did say to Mark and to Terry, who was the actual director of Adventure in Space, I was like, I think I'm actually going to have to tone him down a bit, because obviously it's not a big part. And if I actually do him as kind of dramatic and theatrical as Richard is in real life, people will be going, who the hell's this? What's he trying to do? So we had the cravats and the waistcoats, which obviously he wore then and still wears to this day. But I did think, well, I'm not going to try and do an impression of him, because I think people will just think he's just doing far too much in this comparatively small role. But yeah, so it was lovely that there was that little link and that connection, because obviously when I worked with him at drama school, I had no idea that he'd had any kind of connection with Doctor Who, or that I would indeed go on to play him. So yeah, very strange.
Thanks to Mark, with what he writes, you've done a number of movies and TV shows that Mark's been involved with. You were in Sherlock. Mm-hmm. I mean, right there, that's a big thing. You were in Reichenbach Fall.
Yeah.
You were also in The First Men in the Moon, except it was just your voice.
Yeah.
Were you a Moon Man? I haven't seen this yet. I want to see it. Were you the voice of a Moon Man?
Yeah, that was literally just, I mean, it was barely anything that would have been credited, really, but it was, yes, just Damon Thomas, who directed that, had directed Crooked House and just directed a couple of things that Mark had done, and just said, will you come in and do the voice for the alien? And so yeah, that was just a day in the recording studio, although I did visit the set a couple of times because our dog was featured in it as well, so I was there as dog handler on some days as well. So he gets his little starring part in it as well.
But could you tell us a little about The Worst Journey in the World?
Yeah, God, that's a few years ago now. It was a story that Mark had always been fascinated by, and he loves that whole sort of Antarctic exploration, and it's a place he'd love to go to one of these days. And the story of Apsley, Sherry Garrard and Scott was a story that he'd always wanted to tell. And then, I can't remember exactly how it came about, but BBC 4, they basically commissioned him to write a script about it, and there was, as there always was with BBC 4, who actually, I don't think actually even make drama anymore. The budget was minuscule. It was really tiny, so it was a case of generally getting mates in and people he'd worked with before who would agree to do it for the really small amount of money that they were offering. So and he wanted to set up this dinner party, and the idea of kind of someone to put the opposite side of the argument, to battle against the sort of the romanticism and the heroism, and to actually point out that they were woefully ill-equipped and it was all slightly ridiculous. So I think the character I played in that was obviously a completely invented character to kind of put that other side and not be particularly pleasant about it either. But that was one day's filming. I mean, I think I think all the interiors for Worst Journey in the World were all done in the same location. It's this little house in East London in Princelet Street, which gets used an awful lot for locations because it's got lots of different rooms that you can dress differently, which is always the thing with TV filming. If you can stay in one place and just make it look like lots of different places, it saves a huge amount of money. And that's ultimately what it's all about. It comes down to the budget. So that was how I got involved with that. And I think that's the only time I've ever actually acted with Mark, that we've actually had a scene together. And it was me being horrible to him.
I was about to say, I'm thinking to myself, well, hang on a second. I was thinking to myself because when you did Robots of Sherwood, we were thinking, well, Mark's writing the script and he wrote you in a character that's going to die in 6 months. And the first thing we were joking about is he trying to tell Ian something?
I'm fairly sure that was Steve's idea. I don't think that was. Maybe it's Steve Moffat I have to have a conversation with as opposed to Mark. No, I'm fairly sure that it was his idea to give Alan the terminal
disease. Trying to kill off somebody we love, so we're.
I told Christian, Mark. This goes back to what I'm saying. I keep saying that it's not Stephen Moffat, it's George Martin that's the problem with the killing off everybody. But then everybody keeps saying Stephen Moffat kills off people I love, and I'm like, this is going to be a self-fulfilling prophecy. So there you go. We had him kill off Osgood in the finale, and it turns out he's the one who said, oh, let's give Alan Adale a terminal illness. So see, there you go. You're forcing Stephen Moffat to do this. Cut it out.
You see, you never know because TV, it's such a collaborative process. It's really interesting because you never know who actually has been responsible for something in a script, or indeed what something is, how it ends up on the final screen. There's stuff that Mark's written, and then obviously because I'm Doctor Who, rather than him being an executive exec or a producer in the way that he's in Sherlock. It's not his baby. He writes a script and then it goes away and he might come and visit the set for a bit, but it's very much it's in the hands of the production team and the director and whatever. And sometimes you never know how a director is going to interpret what you put in the page. So it's very interesting because obviously TV tends to be it's a writer's medium as opposed to a director's medium, unlike film, where TV directors are generally brought in later in the day and have not necessarily less control, but people know who the head writer is on Doctor Who, and who certainly fans, who know who the writers are and probably possibly don't know necessarily who the director is of a specific episode or a specific story, obviously, whereas film's the other way around. So, I mean, I remember going with Poirot, one of the first one we wrote was we changed the murder weapon. We'd written that the murder victim was killed by a javelin, and we just assumed that the person would pick up the javelin and stab them. And then when we saw that it had been shot, that the murderer was across the other side of the room and actually launched the javelin through the air, and it must have travelled God knows how many metres and then killed the victim that way. So it's funny, you never really know as a viewer what's been put there by the writer, the director, or indeed what the actors just come up with on the day and how they've sort of managed to change something or interpreted a line or a scene in a particular way.
Now, Ian, before you did Adventures in Space and Time and before you did Robot of Sherwood, you've actually been involved with Doctor Who because you've done Big Finish audios.
Yes, I've done a lot.
In fact, you got to work with your doctor. You got to work in Primeval with Peter Davison.
Yeah. I think that was the second one I did. So I've not listened back to it recently. I'm sure I'm not very good at it because, like any of these things, it's a technique and it's a skill, and I feel I'm much more confident. I'm much better at doing them now than I was when I started off. But yeah, no, that was a real thrill to work with Peter, and I've got to know him more sort of socially since then as well. But I think that might have been the first time I met him, and also Sarah Sutton as well, which was very strange because I was kind of her love interest in the story.
Yes, you were.
And it was because I was sitting there thinking, God, if you'd have told the 8-9-year-old me that I would be sitting opposite Nissa playing her kind of boyfriend in the story, I'd have never believed you. But I thought, for the sake of tact and diplomacy, I don't think I'm going to say that. It's
okay. The three of us have been thinking that this whole time you've been saying that.
You got to work with Paul McGann as well, the Eighth Doctor in Invaders from Mars and A Company of Friends.
Yes, right. Yep.
Yeah. You've done some Gallifrey stories.
Yeah.
And you actually were in A Storm of Angels, one of the Unbound.
Yes. Yeah.
And I listened to most of these, and I love Finish. I think Big Finish is a great place for Doctor Who. It definitely filled the years when it wasn't on the air, and it's continuing to be a great source of Doctor Who material now.
They're lovely guys to work for, they really are, and I know it's a continual struggle for them to actually kind of fight against piracy and actually be able to afford to make them.
Right.
So, I mean, they've got someone, I think, who now pretty much works full-time trying to sort of track down people who are uploading stuff for free, which I don't get why you do that, why you would pay for something and then just stick it out there for everyone to kind of just have for free, because you kind of go, they're a small company and they have very sort of tight profit margins in terms of trying to get full cast things in, so it's a pity, but yeah, no, they're really lovely people to work for. I've had great fun. I mean, I've done another one which isn't out yet, but the last one I did was did one a couple of months ago with Katie Manning, one of the Iris Wildtime.
So love Iris.
I've got I'm sure that hasn't come out yet, but I'm intrigued to hear that because actually I was playing Faded Rock Star in that, so I got to sing again in that. So I sang about 3 or 4 songs as part of the.
Cool.
Thing. So so that'll be fun to listen to. And I remember particularly the Gallifrey one because I went through a period where all of the characters I played died, which is quite good fun. It's quite nice doing gory death scenes. But that I know the Gallifrey one, it was a lot of fun, but it was really exhausting because there's a sequence where my character kills himself or tries to through a various. I can't even remember why he had to kill himself, but. I think I had to drink poison, and that didn't work. Then I tried to. Well, I did. I bit my own tongue out so that I couldn't speak. Then I was trying to crush myself in a kind of a closing electric door, and it was in the summer as well. And I just remember being in this booth, kind of ridiculous way to earn a living. You think. But there's me gargling away with no tongue, going, pretending that I'm being crushed by an electric door. And I was quite sweaty when I did that one. But it was fun. It was good. I think that one came out quite well. I remember being quite pleased about that one.
It's funny you should bring up grisly death scenes. And, we've been talking about work that you've done, but let's do a little kind of what if. Mark has done, Game of Thrones. He was in this past season. Is that something you would want to do? Would you want to do that show?
If I was offered it, I can't imagine I'd say no. Yeah, I mean, it's got a huge cult fan base. I mean, it's again. This is the thing. I'm a bit ashamed to admit it, but I've never really watched. I've literally. I think Mark's more or less the same. We watched the scene that he was in, just because it's such a major commitment. You kind of feel like suddenly watching it. If you were going to watch it, you need to kind of go back to the beginning. And I'm sure we will one day. But it's like there's. Whenever someone recommends yet another brilliant American TV series that you absolutely have to watch, we've still not watched Breaking Bad, The Wire, and so they're all those that they're on the list to watch. We've managed it with a few. We've just finished watching The Comeback, Lisa Kudrow's HBO series, which we love. So that's great. But so I don't know. I know nothing about it other than Mark plays a banker in it.
Yeah. Well, no,
and there's lots of sex and murder and stuff.
Yeah. I like I said, I used grisly death as the segue. Yeah, there's a lot of people die in that show. And they die in Christian Mark, what do you think is the best way I could put this? Very memorable deaths. If you think getting disintegrated in Doctor Who is one thing, there was one character who died by getting a pot of molten gold poured all over him.
Right.
Well, that sounds fun.
Yeah. Well, I must admit, because Mark's brother's quite a big fan, and he, when Mark was offered the part, he was telling us about it, and I didn't realise it was quite so sort of adult-centric as it was, but there we go. Yeah, sounds like fun.
Ian, we've come to the point of our show where we like to let our guests give plugs. Do you have any projects coming up that you want to tell people about?
Well, I've got... I've just finished doing a play about Alan Turing. Called
wow!
Love Song of the Electric Bear, which may have a life beyond its current run. We'll see. What else I've got? I've got an episode of a TV series called Doctors, ironically not Doctor Who, coming up in the... no. That's probably already been on. That's been on, I think.
We missed it.
Maybe get it on iPlayer. But I'm doing another theatre job over the summer. I'm going off to France to do an opera with a very distinguished British theatre director called Katie Mitchell, who's done a lot of amazing work. I'm a big admirer of it. It's the first time I get to work with her. So if you're in the south of France and you fancy popping into the Aix-en-Provence festival, then I'm sure you'd be very welcome to. But
what opera are you going to do?
It's a Handel opera called Alcina. It's about two sorceresses who lure sailors to their island, have sex with them, and then turn them into rocks and animals because they have no
That's the way an opera should be.
Okay.
No, I was in Mephistopheles and I was in The Magic Flute when I was a kid in New York in Lincoln Center. So, it's cool. Yeah. I like opera.
Ian, where can I find this island?
I've never done opera, but I did do a lot of stage work. Got to punch out my drama teacher.
Oh, really?
Yeah. But I think he got me back the next year because I did a thing on stage and a guy got to beat the living daylights out of me. So
okay.
he told me this wasn't payback, but I still don't know if I believe him or not.
Goes around, comes around.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Do you have a web presence?
I do Twitter, which I quite enjoy. That's about it, really. That's good fun. You get some very nice messages from people. I mean, I occasionally have messages, especially because I am involved with the LGBT issues generally. You'll kind of get messages from people who say thanking you and saying that it's nice to sort of. I mean, obviously, Mark and I don't. It's a bit bizarre if you actually looked on yourself as a role model, but apparently that's how some people see it, which is very very gratifying and lovely to hear, and it's a nice way of kind of letting people know what you're up to, and obviously then there's funny stuff and current affairs and stuff. So I do Twitter. That's about it really. Instagram and all these other ones I haven't yet really ventured into, and I had a website a while ago.
Oh,
then
okay.
It expired a long time ago now. I didn't bother renewing it because I was like, I don't really see the point, but there we go.
It's just like my MySpace account. I don't even know he exists anymore.
Yeah, well, it's fun. Yeah, exactly. It's funny about how, I mean, obviously actors, you're in the business of promoting yourself and your work, and it's just, there was a point where most actors had a website a few years ago, and actually I think with Twitter and stuff now, you kind of, an awful lot of them don't sort of really need to bother. If casting directors and people want to see examples of my work, I've got a show reel on my agent's page, and there's the Spotlight, which is the main casting website that most industry professionals in the UK use. I've got my CV and my show reels on there, so that's kind of tells you everything you need to know, really.
Are there any organizations or charities that you'd like to give a plug to that are very close to your heart that you would like to let our fans know about?
Well, as I say, LGS, London Lesbian and Gay Switchboard, is the one that I'm most closely associated with, that I do actually volunteer for, so I'm actually answering the phones and doing instant messaging service there. So it's a helpline for anyone, really. I mean, principally the LGBT community, but we speak to friends and family of LGBT people as well. And because obviously it's mainly people in the UK, but because we have an email and instant messaging support service as well, we're getting more and more people from overseas contacting us that way as well. Because obviously, if you can get online, that's it. You can get in touch with us. So I've chatted to people there, which I find very rewarding. It feels like you're doing a bit and giving a bit back. And as I say, Peter did an event for us last year, and actually which we filmed, and we have finally. It might even be up by now, but we're in the process of putting that up, and I think we're going to maybe charge a couple of quid for people to download or watch it, which will go, obviously, all will go towards. That was Mark interviewing him on stage, along with Darren Brown, Andrew Scott, Amanda Abington, Miranda Richardson, and Sue Perkins. That was last November we did that, so that will be available. As well. So if you're interested in Mark interviewing Peter, but also there were some questions from the audience and questions that people had emailed in as well. So if your listeners are interested in having a listen to that, then LLGS, and Lesbian and Gay Switchboard, their website will be hosting it.
Okay, very cool. Who do we talk to in the production to have the doctor put a brief visit back to Sherwood just to make sure and confirm that Alan Adale is okay?
Well, I suppose. Well, Steve Moffat's the big man. He's the one that ultimately all the big creative decisions go via him. So he'd be the one to to direct the request to.
Oh boy!
Although, given he was the one who gave me the terminal illness in the first place, I don't know.
Yeah.
Oh, is that something you want to announce?
Well, on behalf of the whole Mark Who 42 gang, we'd like to thank you, Ian-Hallard, for coming on our show and appearing with us.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you very much for having me.
Wow. Yeah, and I thought that was really a good interview. Well, in 2 weeks, actually it's 1.5 weeks now, Christian, I, and Patrick Hawkins will be at Space Coast Nerd Fest. We have a panel at 12:30 p.m. on Saturday that weekend. It's the weekend of the 23rd and 24th, which, of course, is Memorial Day weekend. It is in Melbourne, Florida. You should definitely check them out at spacecoastnerdfest.org for more information. It's going to be a great con, isn't it, Christian?
Absolutely.
It's a little con, but it's going to be good. And unfortunately, Gil Gerard is canceled. You don't get Buck Rogers.
Was there any indication as to why?
I'm not sure why. I really don't. But
well, I hope he's okay.
It's in the 25th century.
But there will be some walkers from Walking Dead, along with some cosplayers and Mark Who 42. Yeah, you know what? I think if you think about it, that makes us the big guests. We're the stars.
No ego there.
We're Mark Who 42.
No ego.
No, we're not.
Yeah, you gotta love how humble he's being.
I'm being very humble.
But we are giving the Melbourne Coast, and a lot of our friends and fans have gone online and on our site and PM'd me and go like, Christian, we don't have a Doctor Who presence at any of the cons that come over here on the coast, and you guys are going to be the first. So happy to represent, proud and happy.
Oh, definitely. Definitely.
That is cool. And hey, actually, Trish and I got some big news.
Hi.
On October 17th and 18th of this year, we are going to be part of the inaugural Great Basin Geeks Expo.
Oh, wow.
It's going to be over in Reno. It's going to be at the Reno Town Mall. And this is going to be first year ever. It's going to be a con put together by the group Great Basin Geeks, created by Michael Ford. And yeah, we are definitely going to be a part of it.
And we're helping to plan it. And this is his first one too, so it's going to be...
So you're going to be at their infancy.
Yep,
yes.
Exactly.
And this first year it's going to be free for people to go so that everybody can just, basically exposure, just...
Well,
yeah, and
good exposure, Christian.
That is good exposure.
Yeah, and this weekend is a double treat for people in the Reno and South Florida area because this weekend we have 2 Weekend TARDIS meetings. We have Weekend TARDIS Reno on Saturday and Weekend TARDIS, the original, in Davie, Florida at Ye Old Falcon Pub on Sunday. Isn't that right, Trish?
Yes.
Yeah.
We are gonna be watching the 8th Doctor movie.
And I think we're doing Night of the Doctor, aren't we?
Yes.
Oh, cool.
What people should do is go over to the Weekend TARDIS Reno and then fly over the next day to Weekend TARDIS.
Oh, definitely.
Oh, boy.
Definitely.
They're going to have to do a red-eye flight for that.
It's beautiful.
Yes.
We'd supply coffee, but I don't think you could take it with you through security.
Yeah, for more information, go to our Facebook pages or go to tardis.marku42.net and you can get information.
What are you going to show at your meeting, Mark?
Well, it's a secret. No, we're going to show the 5th Doctor's reboot, and then I've got a documentary which I'm planning to show, which is all about Doctor Who fandom. It's called Who's Changing? An Adventure in Time with Fans, and we're going to be watching that. Should be fun. Cool. And we might have some trivia, too, as we like doing that.
We're still deciding what game we'll play.
We have to kind of end the meeting a little bit early this week because right after the meeting, we're all going to a Reno Aces baseball game because it's Star Wars night.
Oh, wow.
Hi.
Wow, that's cool.
Movians represent with your screwdrivers.
Yeah.
Yes.
Whack the ball out of the park.
But it's a big event with Great Basin Geeks, so we're all going.
And one last thing, if you want to plan for the future, it's a doubleheader, speaking of baseball. A doubleheader weekend in October, and you happen to be in the Central Florida area. There are 2 events. The weekend prior to Halloween will be Time Lord Fest, and the weekend of Halloween will be Hurricane Who. I will be projected to be doing both. I haven't confirmed if Mark's coming as of yet, but Mark Who 42 will have a presence in both events.
Well, I definitely will be at Hurricane Who. I'll be selling my books, and we'll be there, and it should be fun. Time Lord Fest, if I can get off from work, maybe I'll show up.
I think at least Patrick and I will be representing.
Yeah, Patrick and you will be there.
Time Lord Fest.
Yeah.
Don't forget that near future, and at the end of June, Trish and I will be at RageCon, and at least one of us will be hosting a round of Cards Against Gallifrey. But remember, that's for the big people.
Now, for us to sober up, because we have been drinking a lot in the last 5 minutes talking about all these self-promotion events, we're going to go, folks. Don't forget, and I guess we get to drink some more, don't forget to go to Facebook, Mark Who 42, tweet us at Mark Who 42, go to Geekcast Radio Network, FloridaGeekscene.com, go to MarkWho42.net and join the Whoniverse Army, and go to iTunes for older shows. I mean, we are everywhere around the net. Isn't that right, guys?
Yes.
But of course.
Apparently in the United States.
And by the way, I'm just looking up right now, right before we leave. Let's see.
Check to make sure there's no more news.
Hold on. Wait, let's see. Well, let's see. Hold on. I'm bringing it up right here. And so far, no. So far, they have not. They have not.
I'll give it a minute.
Another one.
You know what? I'm going to spoil the secret. Come back next week. We have Katie Manning for you. So, I'm spoiling it.
Come on.
Do not hit that alert button. Do not hit that alert button.
Katie Manning. Yes. So come back next week for that. We will
actually. And you know what, Mark? If I can jump on what you're saying. Not only do we have Katie Manning, but she solves the mystery of the unit dating controversy.
She does. She really does.
Actually, I don't think anybody else has ever solved this. We solved it. That's right. Mark Who 42 got the answer to that.
So come back next week, folks. We'll talk to you then. Bye.
As for anybody else who had the chance to solve it and didn't, suck on that. It was us. It was us. We solved it. We get the credit.
And actually, we made a love connection with one of our 5 co-hosts with Katie, so you're going to find out about that.
Love connection.
So a little intrigue going on there.
So did we...
The love artist.
Oh, no.
Soon we'll be making...
Bye, everyone.
Not a kissing booth. Not yet.
The love TARDIS promises something for everyone.
Sink it.
Looking at co-hosts and companions.
Mark Who 42's Whoniverse has been written and presented by Mark Baumgarten, Patricia-Helm, Eduardo-m-Freyre, and Christian-basel. This show was edited, produced, and directed by Mark Baumgarten. Please visit markwho42.net and register to join and be a part of the Whoniverse Army. We can be contacted by email at mark@markwho42.net with the subject line ? If you have worked on Doctor Who or are working on a project relating to Doctor Who and want to be on our radio show, please email our media relations director, Christian-basel, at markwho42media@yahoo.com. Doctor Who and its properties are owned by the BBC, the British Broadcasting Corporation. This show is owned and copyrighted by Mark Baumgarten, 2015. You're listening to Krypton Radio.